Should probably just have this. I think we're live. What's up, Jeff?
What's up, Dex?
I'm really jealous of your DJ setup over there. That's pretty incredible.
It's been a while. Thanks, mate. Like, I remember when I first caught up with you in San Fran, probably June, July, rocking into a meetup and like go to Allison. It's like, here's some free alpha. If you run it in a loop, you get crazy outcomes. And this was sort of with Sonnet 4.5, and now we're up to Opus 4.5.
No, dude, this was not Sonnet 4.5. If this was in May, this would have been like Sonnet 3.5, I think.
Yeah, it was. Anyway, it was
Early
It was
days.
cooked back then. 6 months later, as the model gets better, the techniques. There's been a few attempts to turn it into products.
Yep.
But I don't think that will work. Because I see LLMs amplifier of operator skill. And if you just set it off and run away, you're not going to get as great of an outcome. You really want to actually babysit this thing and then get really curious why it did that thing, and then try to tune that behavior in or out and really think about it and never blame the model, and always be curious about what's going on. So it's really highly supervised.
Highly super. Yeah, you guys were talking with Matt today. It was like human on the loop is better than human in the loop, which is like, don't ask me, but I'm going to go poke it and prod it and test it. And I might stop you at certain points, but the model's not deciding when and how.
Correct. So it's really cute that Anthropic has made the Ralph plugin, which is nice. So it's starting to cross the chasm, but I do have some concerns that people will just like try the official plugin and go, "That's not it." And like you've poked in the internals. We sat down and you've done it. You see the concepts. It's like some of the ideas behind human layer. It's you say that it's not it. So how's it not it, Dex?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about what we actually want to do today, which is I have two GCP VMs, and in both of them we have this specs, and they both have a repo checked out. This one actually doesn't even have a loop dash head. This just has the /Ralph Wiggum create loop or whatever. I forget what the exact thing is. We're going to go set it up today. I haven't actually turned this on yet. But I've created these two Git repos. One has a prompt.md and a loop.sh, and it will eventually create this implementation plan. This is like vanilla Ralph from the Geoff recipe, right? And so I've got in this shell, I have my loop.sh, which is literally just run Claude in YOLO mode, cat the prompt in, and let it go do its thing.
Yeah, bump your font bigger, by the way, like triple size. Let's bigger.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to close some of these terminals. And then each of these have, let's see if we can pull this down. Yeah, each of these have so there's two directories, there's two Git repos I've made. One to test the anthropic version, and one to test the, I'll call it the Geoff version of Ralph. So we've got the bash one, and then we've got the plugin one. And so these both have received, they're just empty repos. I'm going to add the loop in the prompt. We'll look at the prompt in a sec. But then we've got these just like specs for a project that I was hacking on called kustomark, which if you remember Kubernetes and the customized world, it's sort of a customization pipeline for like incrementally building markdown files with like patches and stuff. So anyways, they're both getting the same set of specs, and they're both basically being instructed to run. They both get the same prompt, which is like, God. And actually, I guess this one will also get implementation plan, right?
Yeah.
Assuming we have the same prompt. And the prompt is essentially, I'll just push it and go get it.
While you go get it, now in that diagram you have GCP. Folks, we've been at AGI for a very long time. If you define AGI as disruptive for software engineers, at least 6 months now. And these models are just getting better. Now, the GCP thing, I see people go, oh, what about the sandboxing, dangerously allowable? Think about it. Dangerously all is literally like deliberately injecting humans into the loop. You don't want to inject yourself into the loop because that's essentially not AGI. You're dumbing it down. But it
Interesting.
is kind of dangerous to do things. So the fact that you're running on a GCP VM is key, right? You want to enable all the tools,
I
but
want to
you
enable
want to run
everything.
it.
And remember
Yeah,
the
and
lethal
you
trifecta, right? Is like
got to
access
remember
to
the lethal
untrusted
trifecta.
input, is access to the network, and then access to private data. So we are giving it access to do everything, which means it can search the web, which means it can accidentally stumble onto untrusted input. We're giving it access to the network because it needs to do things, I don't know, search web, whatever it is. And we're not giving it access to private data. So here's why we're safe: is this is running in like a dev cluster in GCP, and I think the only thing on there is like the default IAM key, which can literally like look up information about the instance.
You can look at this as layers of onion layers of the security onion.
Yeah.
So, like, if you run dangerously allow all from your local laptop, congrats.
Yep.
They go nab your Bitcoin wallet if it's on your computer. They steal your Slack authentication cookies, GitHub cookies, and they pivot.
Yep.
Right? That's terrible. But if you create a custom purpose VM or an ephemeral instance just for this, you start restricting its network ability, network connectivity, and you do all the things that you should do as a security engineer. The next thing you know is like, okay, it's not what if, it's like when it gets popped. I develop on the basis that it's a when. So the blast radius is if that GCP is like the worst thing it is, because this is not public IP.
Yep.
There is no really absolutely terrible thing. Okay.
And we've
But if
given
you're
it
on
the only permissions on these blocks are my Claude API keys and deploy keys to push to the 2 GitHub repos.
correct, proper security engineering. It's not
We
if it
try.
gets popped. It's not if it gets popped. It's when it gets popped and what is the blast radius. So
This is, however, not an invitation to go pop my GCP VMs. I will not be sharing the IP addresses.
If you want to share API keys with me, Dex, I always need some.
You know what, man? I think you have. I heard you got a lot of tokens popping around over there. If anything, you should be bringing me some tokens.
Facts.
All right, let's look at this prompt. Yeah.
Yeah, let's look at the concept of the prompt. Let's look at the prompt.
So here's what I'm using. This is my take on the original Ralph prompt. Sorry, let me. I have Tmux inside Tmux here, so it's getting a little weird.
That's fine. Okay, let's look at 0A, right?
Yep.
So this is, you got to think like a C or C++ engineer, and you got to think of context windows as arrays, because they're literally arrays. Context windows are arrays. A tool, when you chat with the LLM, you allocate to the array. When it executes bash or another tool, it auto allocates the array.
Yep.
So getting into something like context engineering, I heard there's a guy who knows a thing or two about that definition.
Hey, I just talked to people like you who knew things and put a name on a thing that hundreds of people were doing. But yeah, context engineering is all about designing this array.
It's all about the array. So, and thinking about how LLMs are essentially a sliding window over the array, and the less that window needs to slide, the better. There is no memory server side. It's literally that an array. The array is the memory. So you want to allocate less. So let's go back to the prompt.
Yep.
Away, we're deliberately allocating. This is the key. Deliberate mallocating context about your application.
We're going to say we're just going to have 5,000-ish tokens that are dedicated for like, here's what we're building. And we want that in every time.
Yeah, this could be index.md or readme.md, which is a whole bunch of hyperlinks out to different specs. Enough to like tease and tickle the latent space that like there are files there. So you can either go for an index Or if Ralph starts being dumb, you can go for like deliberate injection.
So you can do at specs, right? And that will just
they're just
Claude
files.
Code the behavior is just to list that out.
Correct. When you mention a file name, the tool registration for read file is going to go, ooh, is there a file on that? I'm going to read it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can give a directory path, you can give it like a direct file. So that is the key. So if we go back to your context window diagram.
Yeah.
Right, let's think about it. So it's kind of like you're allocating the array deliberately. So the first couple allocations is about the actual application.
Mm-hmm.
And every loop allocation is always there. LLM engineering is kind of tarot science, a bit like tarot card reading. It's not really a science, but to me, on vibes, it felt like it was a little bit more deterministic if I allocated the first couple things deterministically.
Yeah.
Now, once you've got that, we go on to essentially our next level line in the spec. So, like the first one is like deliberate mallocing on every loop in the array.
Yep.
Okay, so now we got like a to-do list type thing,
a plan,
like an implementation plan.
Yeah.
Now, something that's kind of missing in there is like pick one.
Oh, it says implement the single highest priority feature.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I see that. Sorry.
I'll say
but that's the idea. Yeah. So a lot of the people, they do these multi-stage things. Let's go back to the context window diagram. They do these multi-stage things. Well, what you want to do is for each one item, reset the goal, re-malloc the objective.
Yes. Because what you could do is
objective.
Imagine you have your somewhere down here is the line of like where like performance degrades noticeably.
Correct. There is a dumb zone. You should stay out of it.
If the dumb zone is down here, and it's very dependent on where this line is, depending on what you're doing and if how your trajectory is and how much you're reading and all of this. But if you ask it to do too much in the working context, then some of your results are going to be dumb. And especially the important part where it's like, okay, I've made all the changes. Let me run the tests. And then the tests are failing and it's like scrambling and flailing to try to get everything working. You kind of want to have this and then like a little bit of headroom also for like finalizing, like doing the git commits and the pushes and making sure that all works. You want to have that all happening in the smart zone.
This is the human in the loop, human on the loop, not in the loop. So we set this up, we architect this loop in this way, and you can either go complete AFK or you can be on the loop. What you just drew there is on the loop. When I'm doing this, I always leave myself a little bit of space for juicing. Like when I'm reviewing the work, this is when software instead of Lego bricks is now clay. So this is where I'll do my like final wrap up steering, or I just throw it away and then I git reset hard and I adjust my technique and let it rip again.
So you're saying you might even in the early days, you might just run one iteration of this loop and then actually sit here and check it, like have it basically wait for input between looping again, right?
So like there's a reason I did the live streams. It's literally I use it as a cheeky portable monitor on my phone. I'm doing like housework and stuff, and it's like a portable monitor, and I check in. I watch it. You start to notice patterns, and you start to anamorphize certain tendencies. Opus 4.5 doesn't have high anxiety with the context window gets, but it does seem to be forgetful of some objectives.
Okay.
But
so I want to quickly, because I know you have a limited amount of time. I want to quickly go through the architecture of the Anthropic plugin and how it's different.
Yeah, sure.
And then I really want to get these things kicked off because I want people to start seeing how they actually work. And so in the Ralph Wiggum plugin, rather than like do the very first thing, so we're going to use the exact same prompt for both of them because we want to like change as little as possible. But what's going to happen in the Anthropic plugin is basically whenever it forget where the performance line is, but whenever it gets to the end and you have your like final assistant message,
it uses a promise. So the user's got to do a promise, and it relies on the LLM to promise that it's completed.
Yeah. So you have your final message, and then basically, unless this contains the promise, sorry, let's just drop this in. If it's no, then we basically inject, like the hook injects a new user message that is just like prompt.md again, which is then going to cause this stuff to be reallocated and like happen again.
And then you get things like compaction and all this stuff. Compaction is the devil, Dex.
Yeah. At some point you get compacted here, and then instead of having all of the context, you end up with, okay, you were running some tools, and then you get compacted.
And then
you have the model summary of like what the model thinks is important, and then you keep going. Correct. Until you get your final message, and then this process repeats. Yeah. And so in these points, you have a very different behavior.
This is why I say deterministic, because it's essentially one model has zero auto compaction ever. The other one is using auto compaction. So the one with auto compaction is lossy. It could remove the specs. It could remove the task and goal and objective. And with this, with the Ralph loop, the idea is you set one goal, one objective in that context window. And so it knows when it's done. If you keep extending the context window forever, you
lose your deterministic allocation.
You lose your deterministic allocation, and more so, let's assume the garbage collection hasn't run. It hasn't been compacted. That window has to slide over 2 or 3 goals, and some of those goals have already been actually completed.
Mm-hmm.
One context window, one activity, one goal, and that goal can be very fine-grained, like do a refactor, add structured logging, what else have you. And you can have multiple of these running. You can have multiple Ralph loops running.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm on my Ralph plugin one. I'm going to run Claude, and I'm going to kick off this loop for the other one. So we're going to do Ralph Wiggum, Ralph loop, read, and then our, what is it? What is the name of the flag? Sorry, I'm going to tab it out
something. Yeah.
Completion promise.
Completion promise, yeah.
And this is going to turn on the hook, and it's going to start working. And over here, I'm going to kick off our loop.sa. Oh, I think I might need to grab the prompt.
Yeah, that's all right. So the number thing to think about this is essentially the Ralph plugin is running within Claude code, and the non-plugin, like the keep it really simple, is the idea of an orchestrator running Claude code. So, or running a harness.
Yeah, you have the outer harness and then the inner harness, right?
This is the idea of between the inner harness and the outer harness. So remember I said opus is forgetful? The current opus is forgetful. For example, when I'm doing Loom and building Loom, I see that it always forgets translations. So cool. You got this Ralph loop to do what it's meant to do. You got a supervisor on top which sees asks if it did translations, and if the translations don't work, you run another Ralph loop to nudge it. Hey, did you do translations? So the idea behind Ralph is an outer layer orchestrator, not an inner loop.
So it doesn't just have to be loop and do it forever. Your loop could actually have run the main prompt, and then you could have another one which is like classify if X was done.
Correct. We're entering into...
you can jump out to other prompts like add the tests and fix the tests, or like do the translations or whatever it is.
Yeah, we're entering into places that don't even have names for these concepts yet, Dex.
Yeah.
You can front run an anthropic on this one.
Yeah. What do you want to... So I was thinking, there was some conversation on Twitter which was like, okay, if Claude Code is the harness, what is the name you give for engineering the / commands and plugins and Claude Code and prompts and maybe the bash loop that you wrap around it? Because like you could say that the Ralph loop script becomes part of the harness, and you've created a new harness on the building block that is Claude Code or AMP or Open Code or whatever. But someone else posted is like, well, if Claude Code is the harness, if the coding model agent CLI tool is the harness, then the things you build to control it are the reins. And so now I'm like, what is reins engineering? But I hope that one doesn't catch on because it sounds really dumb.
No, I have some ideas. Spicy. It's called software engineering. It's called software engineering. So
I like it.
We need the new term because there are so many people who just don't get it right now and in denialism that this is good. They're in their cope land, and people want a way to differentiate. They want to differentiate their skills. Like we had like sysadmins and DevOps and SREs. They created these new titles to differentiate, and eventually those titles got muddied. Because people will go, "Oh, I'm DevOps now because I know Kubernetes." "Oh, I'm an AI engineer now because I know like how to malloc the array." Or how the inferencing loop works. No. These are just fundamental new skills. And if you don't have what we're talking about in a year, I think it's going to be really rough in the employment market for high performance companies. Like I'm already seeing things that like FANG-ish companies, I won't go into specifics because we're live, but like if you're a software engineering manager right now, taxes are coming out. Like they want your team, which you have no control over really, because it's humans, to get good at AI. So it's kind of going to be kind of brutal. It's kind of brutal. Like everyone wants people to get good at AI, but really comes down to if someone's curious or not. Really, did you make the right hire originally?
Yep. I'm going to
I think it's software engineering, Dex. I think it's just literally software engineering, but what it means to be a software engineer changes.
I did realize that I think we can get push. I just want to make sure that we're allowed to commit because I know you have to do some.
Yeah, geoff login.
So so I have deploy keys on both these boxes. Let's see if we can. I'm like tmux within tmux is great. I'm really lucky. I changed my default tmux prefix, so now I have to remember what the default one is on the new boxes.
While we're on the tangent, folks.
Yeah.
You should be thinking about loopbacks. Any way that the LLM can automatically scrape context. So the LLMs know how to drive tmux. So instead of doing some background Claude Code agent, etc., just tell it to spawn a tmux session, split the pane, and scrape the pane. It does it really well. If you've got like a web server log and then a backend API log, create it in two splits. And just tell Claude or the model to go grab the pane. And then you got automatic loop back for troubleshooting. And this, you don't need to be in the loop. You're on the loop and you're programming the loop. And this is all Ralph.
Yes. We actually did on last week, a couple weeks ago on AI That Works, we did a session on Git work trees. And we figured out that we did some demos of like having one Ralph running over here and using tmux, or not Ralph, but having one Claude running over here and using tmux to like scrape the panes of the other ones and then like merge in the results from the work trees and resolve the conflicts.
Yeah. Well, once that kicks off, we're also on another tangent. This is a concept that you coined. Damn it, because I just didn't write it. You usurped me.
That's why I invite you on my streams. I want you to come up with fun words, and I'll just be there while you do it. Which is
okay. Most
it's
test
just recording what happened anyways.
Trash. Most test runners are trash. They output too many tokens. You only want to output the failing test case.
I wrote a blog post on this. Did you see this?
You did, and it's golden, Dex. It's golden. Most test runners are trash.
This is actually based on a bunch of work that I think the first person to write this stuff in our code base was when Allison was hacking. Like this is a version of a script that like Allison and Claude built a while ago because it was just like, why would you want to output like 1 million tokens of like go spew like JSON test output if the test is passing?
What happens is normally the test run, the output's so large, what it does is it goes tail minus 100. But if the error is at the top, it misses the tail.
Yeah, no, this is the thing that happened all the time where it's just head dash N50. And then, if your tests take 30 seconds, then you're fine. But most people that we work with are like teams with 50, 100, thousands of engineers, and their test suites, if you run them wrong, they can take hours. And so like there's some work to be done to like, if it runs the head and then something fails but it doesn't see it and then it has to run it again, it's like that's not wasted tokens. It is wasted tokens and it is wasted time. But like if in most cases, most people aren't doing this super hands-off Ralph Wiggum thing. And so what just happened is I finished my code and I, the human, am sitting there waiting for it to run this 5-minute test suite again.
That's the key.
And I'm like,
so
why would
Ralph,
I ever use this tool?
That's the key. Like I'm not in the loop bashing the array and manually allocate it and like trying to steer it like most people use cursor. Instead, I try to one-shot it up the top and then I watch it. And then if you watch it enough, you notice stupid patterns and then you make discoveries like the test runner thing that you just showed. And you go, ooh, that's a trick that works.
I've also
discoveries
noticed
are found by treating Claude Code as a fireplace.
As a fireplace that you just sit there and watch it.
You just sit there and watch it. You're out camping. You're sitting there watching the fire going.
I had a party on Tuesday, a little like pre-New Year's event, and I wanted to set this up, but I just didn't have time. But I really wanted to have one of the attractions at the party is a laptop hooked up to the TV, and there's a terminal in a web app, and you can see Ralph working, and then anyone at the party can go up and edit the specs and like control the trajectory of the loop. So next time you come to one of my parties, we'll have that.
Mate, I've still got a couple pre-planned trips, so it's just a matter of when I come to SF.
Okay, when you come to SF, we're doing a cursed lang hackathon. We could probably also do a Ralph plus cursed lang hackathon. I think that would be really, really fun. And yeah, just like how do you make this? It's deeply technical, and you can change the world. You can build incredibly useful things that actually make many people's lives better. But also just like the perspective of like some of this is just art, and like how do you bridge the gap between art and utility? And yeah, it's a fun time.
Yeah, it's a crazy time. So I'm down for that. Let me get Loom done, because I think Loom is the encapsulation of some of these ideas into essentially what is a remote ephemeral sandbox coding harness. Mm-hmm. So the ability for a self-hosted platform to actually create its own remote agents, weavers, and then it's just like your standard like agentic harness, which is 300 lines of code. If people think Claude Code's amazing, it's not. It's literally the model that does all the work. Go look at my how to build an agent harness. All right, so you got this harness, you got this remote like provisioner on infrastructure. Yep. The next step there is really like how could you encodify Ralph and like all these nudges and all these pokes, and what happens if it's the source control? It's also source control. Like I've been wanting to get off GitHub for a long time and evolves SCM.
Did you build your own?
Now, yeah, the last 3 days, like AFK, I now have a remote provisioner. I now have full like ABAC, device login flows, OAuth login flows, Tailwind UI. It's got full SCM hosting, full SCM mirroring. We've got a harness. So I've got the CLI now that can like spawn remote infrastructure, kick off an agent, and then when it says that it thinks that it's done, then I can set up this like almost like a POSIX chain reaction of agent pokes agent. So this is like, did you do the translation? Do all these things? And if you control the entire stack from source code, you can modify it and change that stack to your needs. Includes like source control as like a memory for agents.
I love it. I've realized one other thing here, which is that I did not put a push command in my prompt, and so the agents didn't push their stuff.
Yeah. So that's another thing we haven't covered off yet, is the idea of if you have a shell script on the outside or an orchestrator over the harness.
That's true. You could just do the push in the orchestrator.
Correct, which makes it deterministic, but you can also add deterministic push, deterministic commit. You could add deterministic like evaluation, whether it meets your criteria. Does it do a git reset hard? Does it run Ralph further on what you already got? Does it bake it more? Or does it just reset and try again?
Yeah.
But if you run
I
it
like
in
the
the
commit.
harness, you're just gonna get like steak that's either blue or it's charred.
Okay, so here's what's interesting is we are back to non-determinism. So you see this one over here started running the thing and it actually emitted the promise because it read the prompt and it said, okay, everything is done with the first thing. Like it finished the prompt and it did the first thing, but it's now not looping. And so
it's kind of like if I tell you not to think about an elephant, what are you thinking about, Dex?
Elephants?
Exactly. Like this is another thing with prompt engineering. Like people go, it's important that you do not do X, Y, Z, right?
And then it's like,
and next thing you know, it's in the context
XYZ.
window. I'm going to think about X, Y, Z, and that forgets the important not.
Mm-hmm.
The less that's in that context window, you better your outcomes. That includes trying to treat it like a little kid.
Mm-hmm. I want to actually edit this because I haven't worked with this plugin much, so it's like a little bit of this is my a little bit of this is my like just learning the tricks of this plugin, but it looks like the Ralph loop is finished. So I'm gonna make another one. Let's see. Or what is it? Completion promise? I'm just gonna try to run it without a completion promise and see if this will just run forever.
Yeah. I hope people stumble upon this video and they're able to disconnect the two between like the official product implementation and go, oh wow, it's by Anthropic, versus learning the fundamentals of like
why it works and why it's good.
Why it works and how does it work, and like actually watching it. Like I have AFK'd it for 3 months, but I wasn't paying for tokens. I saw it rewrite the Lexa and parser like so many times. And I thought the model was the issue. It wasn't the model. Hey, Dex, do you know someone who said that you should spend some time reading the specs and like more time on the spec because one bad spec equals like one bad line of code is one bad line of code. One bad spec is like 10 new product features, 10,000 lines of like crap and junk. Because in the case of Cursed, in the case of Cursed, my spec was wrong. So it was tearing down the Lexa and the parser, like, because I declared the same keyword for and or to be the same keyword.
Because you had a mistake in the list of you couldn't come up.
And I was saying that the model was bad and loop was literally garbage in, garbage out. Like you got to eyeball these specs.
You didn't know enough Gen Z slang to do a good job.
Yeah, and I never met a compiler before.
You ran out of Gen Z words.
I ran out of Gen Z keywords.
For anyone who hasn't seen this. I'm just going to show this real quick for people who are not familiar, but this is a programming language that was built with Ralph 3 times over in 3 different, it was C and then Rust and then Zig, right?
Yeah, playing with the notion of back pressure and what's in the training data sets and all that stuff.
Yeah, this is cool. Anyways, I'm going to leave this running for a while. I'm probably not going to be sitting here, but I hope if you're watching, you had fun and you learned some stuff. And Jeff, I know you got to head into work in a minute, but
I got to head into work.
Any final thoughts? Any last words? And I mean, you kind of said your advice, which is like, don't just jump on the plugin and the name and the cartoon character, but like actually, it's kind of as much of anything, it's a teaching tool, and like go learn why it works and why it was designed the way it was. Yeah, think like a C or C+ engineer. Think that you got this array. There's no memory on the server side. It's a sliding window over the array. You want to set only one goal, an objective in that array. And you want to leave some like headroom if you're not complete AFKing. You want to leave some headroom because sometimes you've got this beautiful context window that you just fall in love with, and then you're like, "Oh, can I squeeze some more out? Maybe it's not a new loop. Maybe like you get these golden windows." Where it's like the trajectory is perfect and it's running the test properly, and you get into the right flow.
You want to save it. You want to save it. Like that's something I think that as an area of research in agentic harnesses is like the ability to say this is the perfect context window. I want to go back to it.
Yeah, I mean, we
But
talked a
yeah,
little bit about
deliberate
this.
malloc-ing. Yeah, deliberate malloc-ing. And less is more. Holy crap. Take your Claude code rules and tokenize them. Go to like TikTok, get token off GitHub, run it through the tokenizer or the OpenAI tokenizer.
Yeah.
Read the harness guides. Read the harness guides. Like Anthropic says it's important to shout at the LLM. GPT-5 says if you shout at it, it becomes timid.
You detune the model. Yeah, it stops
You
being good.
detune
But
the
yeah, you can
model.
look at the tokenizer. I mean, this is easy because it's this. But like, yeah, we talk about this all the time. As if like you should go look at how the model sees what you say, because when you type JSON into here, you see like there are so many extra characters. Like this is way denser than just feeding the model words, and so you should turn the JSON deterministically, turn it into words or XML or something more token efficient.
Yeah, I'll leave you with a quip.
Yeah, let's go.
So you could only fit about actually, maybe here's the quip. I remember someone coming to me and wanting to do an analysis on some data using LLMs.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, how big is the data set? And that person went, oh, it's small. It's only a terabyte. So I had to pull up the chair, and go, oh, this is only a Commodore 64 worth of memory. So if you want to know how big like 200K of tokens is,
yeah, it's tiny.
It's tiny. You've got like the model gets about a 16K token overhead. The harness gets about a 16K overhead. So you only got about 176K usable, not the full 200 because there's overheads.
Right. There's the system messages that come in, right?
Yeah. So for that person, downloaded Star Wars Episode 1 movie script.
Mm-hmm.
And I tokenized it.
Okay.
And that worked out to be about 60K of tokens or about 136 KB on disk. You can only fit the max of one movie or two movies into the context window. Here's a new measurement. How many movies can you fit into to get people thinking about like visually from when we talk about tokens, it's just this weird concept. Like you can only fit about 136 KB, and people go, "What's 136 KB?" It's a Star Wars movie script.
Amazing.
That includes the tool output. If you apply the domain back, that includes your tool output, your spec allocation. It includes your initial prompts. It goes by fast.
Yeah.
Dex.
So it's both you can do a ton, but it's also it's incredibly small, and the engineering and being thoughtful about how you use this stuff can make a huge impact.
Correct. And your best learnings will come by treating it like a Twitch stream or sitting by the fireplace and then asking all these questions and trying to figure out why it does certain behaviors. And there's no explainable reason, but then you notice patterns and then you tune things like your agents MD, which should only be about 60 lines of code, by the way.
Yeah. 6 agents MD should be small. Everything should be small. You want to maximize
everything should be so small.
Useful working time in the smart zone.
Exactly.
This is super fun. I decided to do this as a bit, and Geoff texted me. I was like, I'm going to come hang out and talk about Ralph. I was like, incredible. So thank you so much for joining.
Anytime,
we'll post
mate.
the video somewhere. If you want to do a recap or a retrospective, I'm happy to dive deeper once this thing is like cooked for a couple hours.
Peace until I'm next in San Fran, mate.
All right, sir. Enjoy.
See ya.
Hey, that was Geoff Huntley. I am now going to get back to work. And we're going to let this thing cook, and we will just leave it online on the stream for a bit. So I'm going to turn off the OBS camera. I'm gone now. And yeah, enjoy. We'll check back in a little bit. Cheers. So it appears that the Anthropic one is completely dead. I'm wondering what is going on here. Oops, I didn't mean to cancel that one. Let's get that one going again. So it just keeps running the hook over and over again. Let's see if we can control C this. The only thing I can assume is Stop says iteration 110, no completion promise set. Oh, it's coming from my phone. I'm like hearing the stream on my phone. Yeah, I wonder what's going on here. Did it delete the prompt? Prompt is here. What happened? Stop hook error. Stop says, yeah, what happened here? Okay, that's my wrong teamwork session. What was the last thing that happened before it got stuck in this loop? Oh my God. Look at all these iterations. So all milestones complete, 202 test passing, complete. Project is feature complete. Features listed and out of scope are intentionally deferred or not planned. Milestones complete. All milestones complete. Project is complete. Project complete. All milestones done. Okay, so this one says it's baked. All done. Complete. All milestones complete. Done. Project complete. This is funny. Because it's all in one context window, it's just seeing its own context and just returning this check mark. Whereas like Ralph starts fresh and it's like learning again, and then it's more likely to come up with new things to do. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually pull down this repo and we'll see how it goes. So let's just pop this guy open. Oops. All right. I'm going to get logged in here and we're going to explore this and see how it did. So this was the plugin one. Git pull and then tell me about this project and teach me how to use it. Let's see how this goes. All right, fine. I will get, because we opened it from not the CLI. All right, we're gonna pull this down over here and see what fast haiku can do. I guess we'll check out the other one too. See how far we've gotten. Teach me how to use it and let's run through some examples. Let's go fast haiku. This guy on DSP. Clean up some of these other ones. Check out the code. All right, we got the CLI, we got the core, config parser, front matter parser, get URL parser. Oh, this is sick. We got here. Okay, tests all failing. Perfect. 100 pass, 9 failures. We got some good GitHub URL parsing. Cannot find package. So we should install. This one appears to have more tests. Nope, less tests on the plugin one. We'll have to see source and how it differs / adheres to the specs. I would guess that we're not going to get the emergent behavior here that we are used to getting from the Ralph in a loop, which is going to just keep finding stuff to do if we've done everything. One thing we could do is we could extend it so that, that's why. Okay. It's parsing that as a comment. Including anything in the out of scope / future work. That's now in scope. And then we can go launch it again. Okay. And we'll do the same one over here. And I should probably make sure they match. All right, next time it runs, it will pull the out of scope stuff into scope. Excellent. The tests were fixed by the agent. Really should have told this to not use background agents. Really wish it would just run all the agents in the foreground, but such is life. Okay. So in our Ralph plugin, analysis, M3 partially implemented. Not implemented. The spec has this, but it's not there. I wonder if our implementation plan was broken. Let's see. This one, M3 remote sources partial. Offline, update, lock files. Still coming along. Well, this one didn't actually say it was done, so. And this says M4 was not started. So you could allege that this one actually finished faster. But at the end of the day, the real answer is how do they work? So we're going to jump into... Let's just do this guy. Kustomark, Ralph, plugin. Well, that's not good. This was for the plugin one. Human on the loop, folks. Build it. Here we go. Okay. Interesting. We really taken the customization flag. Now what do I do? Okay, built our stuff. So we want to do something like... Slow down, buddy. We got to understand what we did here. What I really want to do, what was it called? I don't remember the ticket number. I knew things about find. We got lazy grep going on here. We're not going to worry too much about this. All these fun watch hooks. On build, on error, on shell. Committing with get, pushing up, getting stuff, folks. I think neither of these are really fully baked yet, but we're going to let this cook for a little bit longer and see where we get to. This one has way more tests worth noting. Actually, what I want is to compare both implementations. All right, we're going to kick that off. We're going to let them keep cooking. Should probably start a Ralph loop locally to run through and just explore and compare these things. But anyways, we're going to let's cook for a little bit more. We'll be back. Okay, so we started at 2. It's about 4:20. Again, this one's been done for a while, it feels like. But we added some more stuff to scope just so it could keep going. I'm actually going to go check out the repos. So here we'll be able to see, here was the plugin one. I'm a little bummed this didn't get a README. We can come through and like look at the implementation plan here. Seems like everything is done. Here's our progress log. Apparently we have parallel flags. I like that this one made a README that explains how it works and how to use it. So I am on my other workstation that is not being used for streaming, and I am testing the actual use case for this, which was to take a bunch of skills from a Claude plugin and patch them with repo-specific rules. So we'll be back to talk through how that went. And we'll be trying it with both versions of the plugin. So I'm going to go put the Ralphs back on, and we will keep rocking. Okay, so we did start implementing this over there. We did find one issue, which I, from my other workstation, have opened because we really want it to flatten maintain the directory structure, but instead it like flattens it. And so it's done some root causing over there because it had access to the source code. So we're actually going to update our Ralph loop to not only read from the specs, but also from the known issues folder and see how that works. I've done this a couple times before. So I'm going to, let's pop this one open over here. How can we, what's the best way to install the GitHub CLI on a workstation? I'm asking, there are very easy questions to these questions. There are very easy answers to these questions. Or you can install whatever you want. I guess we'll do this on both of these. I hope we can do this unauth. Don't really want to auth these things with a GitHub pat. Okay. Oh, we made the same deterministically bad in a non-deterministic world. Isn't that fun? They both made the exact same mistake. Let's see if we can fetch issues without logging in. Amazing. It worked. This one's still having trouble. We're going to add this to the original prompt. We get rid of this. I guess we better make sure there's an issue on the other one too. Okay, we got an issue there now. Let's see. Guess we should make sure we have JQ. Nice. Thank you, Ubuntu, for including JQ. Or maybe it came with Claude. Who knows? Okay, sick. My stop hook hit, so we should be good here. I'm going to just cancel the loop and make sure it's able to do this stuff. This is the other nice thing is you can just kill these things and they'll pick back up wherever they left off. Oh, and this one is now going along. I'm going to stop this one. We cannot have two of these working on the same thing. Yeah, that's fine. We could have done that as our own separate step in the loop script, but I think that's fine for now. So now these things will pull in any GitHub issues that get open. So go open GitHub issues and see if you can prompt inject my Ralphs into doing something weird. Have fun.